Hey there guys, Luke Salway here. Welcome to the webinar, The Secret to Healing Health and Happiness. I had a technical glitch at the beginning of the webinar, so recording a quick one here where I can catch up and merge the second half that I recorded earlier. So I'm going to blast through this very, very quickly. Thanks for joining us. You'll be watching this on YouTube. So the secret to health, happiness, healing, and all of that good stuff. How do we do it? First, let's take a quick look at the agenda, the metaphysics, thoughts create our reality, the role of the heart in healing. Let's just jump straight in, shall we? If this is your first time at one of our webinars, you've probably found this so far on the YouTube channel. If you subscribe, you can have access to more than 10 webinars and about 20 hours worth of content. So do yourself a favor, just type Coachology into the YouTube search bar, hit subscribe, and then so you'll be updated with new content as we upload it. Also, I've created a mastermind group for executives and leaders where members of the group in 60 seconds or less will share a little video or a content or some meme or some top tips or best practices on how you can develop your leadership and your business. So go over to Facebook, into the groups in Facebook, just search 60, spell it S-I-X-T-Y, leadership, and then you'll be able to join the group there as well, hosted by Coach Christy and myself. Cool. So do our thoughts create our reality? We did a bit of a poll on the live webinar, and the answer was an overwhelming yes. More than 80% of people agreed that yes, thoughts do create our reality, and absolutely they do. And you can go down the deep metaphysical rabbit hole, or you can simply look at it from the point of view like this. Our thoughts, we're having 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day. As we're having those thoughts, we need to make decisions. As we make decisions, that leads to behavior and action, and those behaviors and actions create our results. So the results in our life, whether it's career, whether it's our life partner, whether it's where we go for holidays, whatever it is, it starts with a thought, decision, action, and result. So yes, our thoughts do create our experiences in life, therefore our reality. Now, on a metaphysical level, we can go as deep as you like. For the purposes of this 1 hour webinar though, let's get clear on the definition. It's a branch of philosophy that deals with first principles of things. The kind of creation, including abstract concepts such as being, knowing, substance, cause, right? The cause of our reality, identity, time, and space. So again, at its most fundamental, our thoughts create our reality. Let's take a look at some of those processes of thinking and decision making that can help us to be more conscious and aware to create the future that we want to create. So there's basically a 3-step process, which is the secret to healing, health, and happiness. And we're going to look at these step by step. The first one is D, which means de-stress. The second one is O, which is to observe our current thoughts, programs, and behavior. And C is create. So in other words, you can be your own doctor to create your healing, your health, and your happiness in your life. But we must follow the certain order, right? We need to de-stress and remove all of those limitations that are holding us back. So we de-stress first, we become more calm, more centered, more emotionally intelligent. Then we observe the thoughts that we're having, the behaviors and our emotions. Then, and only then, can we create a compelling future. So up to 90% of all doctors' visits are for stress-related ailments and complaints, according to the American Psychological Association of 2017. So what does that mean? Out of every 100 patients to go to see the doctor, at least 90% of them are there because of stress-related ailments and complaints. So if we're able to more effectively manage our stress by removing the stress, by de-stressing, then that will in turn create greater health and greater healing. Now, this is really cool about our brainwave process here. So let me explain this really quickly for you as we move from left to right on your screen. So you can see down the bottom here, we have frequency or brain waves as it can be measured by an EEG. At the very early stages there, we have your delta, which is that kind of 0 to 4 hertz. That's when you are in a deep sleep without dreaming, kind of just knock out. Yeah. Then we move into this theta state, which is around 4, 6, 8 hertz. And that is when you're dreaming. And it's when you're also in this hypnagogic imagery state. And the example of that is when you're kind of, on the sofa at the end of the day, and you kind of start drifting off like that, and you might have little dreams or images and things like that. Or it can also be when you're first waking up in the morning, especially like on a Saturday when you don't have to rush around and do anything. You don't have to get to work or your virtual office or wherever you are. And when you kind of doze on and you doze off, and you often can have some very vivid or lucid dreams in that kind of that wakefulness state. So it's kind of like body asleep, mind awake. That's what we call theta. Then we move into alpha. So now the brain is becoming more active, and this is what we call a relaxed or calm meditative state. Then we have low beta, relaxed attention and focus. So chances are, if you're watching this recording now, you're in a relaxed attention and focus. Yeah. Then we move up into higher ranges of beta, which is active attention and directed focus. Maybe if you're, in the middle of a meeting, or you're sitting an exam, or you've got some important project with a bit of a deadline going on, then you're going to be quite active. Yeah. Then around the 24 hertz, you're up to mid-range beta. And this is where we're starting to feel a little bit of anxious. We're starting to kind of like worry, and there might be even some fear jumping in there. And then we move up even to higher ranges of beta, extreme anxiety and even panic. And then finally, at the highest levels, a loss of sense of self, fight, flight, or freeze. And we come like what we call the reptile brain. So we're just in survival mode. Now, interestingly, most people, most of the time, on average, as you can see highlighted in the red circle there, that's where most people are spending most of their time, in these high levels of beta. Now, in these high levels of beta, this is where we are releasing a ton of stress hormones, such as cortisol, such as adrenaline, and all of these other hormones that are dumped into the body as chemical, in order that we can fight, flight, or freeze. Now, if we continue to live in those high emotional states, those brain waves of high levels of beta, well, that is not the time to heal, right? If you're in survival mode, which is everything in that red circle, you're looking to survive. You're looking, where is the tiger lurking in the woods, yeah? So if we're in that kind of survival mode, we're defending ourselves, we're fighting others, we're protecting our ego or personality or whatever it is, then that is certainly not the time to go within. It's not the time for the body to go through the restorative healing process. It's not the time to sit on a rock and meditate, right? We can't have both. So what we need to do is we need to aim to get our brain waves into that more calm and relaxed state, as is highlighted in the green circle just here, right? So you want to practice some kind of relaxation or meditation technique. You need to be able to calm yourself down so that the body can heal itself. You see, when we go to the doctor is simply preparing the conditions to heal. If we take a broken arm, for example, it's not the doctor that's actually healing the broken arm. He is preparing the environment and the conditions, right? He's cleaning the wound. He's preventing infection. He will reset the bone based on the x-ray, and then he'll wrap it up in plaster to hold it in place. But after that, guess what? The body is doing the healing. The body is joining the bone back together, all of the nerves back together, healing the skin. Your body is doing all of that. And if you're living in these hormones of stress, well, then the body is not able to heal itself correctly. Now, as we've all heard before, prevention is better than cure. And those 90% of all doctors' visits are stress related. Well, what if you could manage your stress more proactively? What if you developed a practice that enabled you to calm down? Because when you're in those calm states, when you're not in survival, but when you're calm, trusting, safe environment, the body knows exactly what to do. The body knows how to heal itself. The body is so much more intelligent than we could consciously ever imagine. So this is why de-stress is the most important part of your healing, health, and happiness journey, because without it, you're always going to be in this defensive mode. And so those 3 stress responses that we have are fight, like boxing, flight, which means run away, or freeze, like the deer in the headlights. When you're driving along a country road and a wild animal, it just stays there. So guess what? As humans, this reptilian brain that's from hundreds of thousands of years through of evolution, it still exists. And when we're in those high levels of stress, it becomes an automatic response. And remember, when we're in this fight, flight, or freeze, the body cannot heal because it's diverting all of the body's energy and resources to fight, flight, or freeze. It's not the time to heal. It's not the time to digest. It's not the time to contemplate and be reflective. No, you're very active out there to protect yourself. Make sense? Cool. So there's a few top tips for you to be able to de-stress. Firstly, remove toxicity from your life, such as people, places, and sensory input. I've said it on many of these webinars before. I'm sure if you've watched the recordings, you've got to remove the toxicity from your life. Stop watching the news, especially at the moment with these high levels of uncertainty. There's so much disinformation, misinformation, fear mongering, hidden agendas, and all of that, all designed to increase your stress response. So you just need to cut it out of your life, right? That toxicity, that input coming in through your senses. And guess what? That might be people. It might be places, certain places in the environment. If you're in a toxic work environment, guess what? It might be time to take care of your own health and de-stress by finding a new working environment, right? Exercise is an obvious way to de-stress. A healthy diet, right, is an obvious way to de-stress, right? What else? You can also do heart-focused breathing, simply a few deep breaths. And welcome back. Cool. So I hope that was enjoyable for you. As you experience, it only takes about 3 minutes to be able to tap into that feeling. And what you're doing in those 3 minutes is you're slowing the brain waves down to around alpha, right? The alpha brainwave state. From that state, from those brain waves, you have de-stressed. And now the body knows exactly what it needs to do to heal itself, to get into the operating threshold to be able to do what it needs to do. This is why meditation is also so important. Coach Christy and I, we meditate every single day without fail, on average about 45 minutes to 1 hour every single day. And the results in our life have been absolutely amazing. We're going to do a full webinar in a couple of weeks just on this meditation practice. Change of environment or nature, right, is a really good way to de-stress. That's kind of why we came to Hua Hin. We've been in lockdown for about 9 weeks in Bangkok, and we know that nature is one of the best ways for us to de-stress and rejuvenate. So as we come down here to Hua Hin, we've got the sea, the beautiful gardens, a change of environment, and it's just amazing. It might be painting or art or some kind of creation is a really, really good way to de-stress. And simply whatever brings you joy is another really good way. If it brings you joy, if it puts a smile on your face, then guess what? You're on the path to de-stressing. Cool. Now, the next step, guys, in DOC, to become your own doctor, is to observe. Now, what do we mean by observe? Is there are certain things that you need to observe or become aware of in your operating system. Now, what do I mean by that is, first of all, 95% of the day, you are running on your subconscious programs and habits. So what does that mean? And this is according to science as well. Dr. Bruce Lipton, Deepak Chopra, Dr. Joe Dispenza have all said that only 5% of the day are we consciously aware and present in the moment. That means that 95% of the day, we are running on automatic programs, subconscious programs, beliefs, and habits. And 95% of the time, we are not aware of what they are. So if we want to change anything, we must first become aware of what those habits and programs are, right? So here are some of the things that you can begin to pay attention to in order to be more aware, in order to observe your own operating system, your thoughts, right? So first we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day. We need to become aware of what are the quality of those thoughts. Are those thoughts causing stress, or are those thoughts creating peace and calm? We also need to observe our emotional state. Our emotional state is our feeling moment to moment. And of course, our feelings go up and down throughout the day. So you want to observe, are you in a more positive emotional state, or are you in a more negative emotional state? Because that is going to affect your health and healing. You want to observe your behaviors and your actions. So again, 95% of the time, we're running on autopilot. So we need to take that detached kind of observer's point of view and take a look at our actions. Also, your reactions, right? So what is it that that person, what are he or she, what do they say or do that cause you to react in a certain way? And you want to get really, really clear and observe your reactions on a moment by moment basis. What triggers you? Is it certain sounds? Is it a certain sight? Is it the tonality of someone's voice? What is it that triggers you to get in those stressful situations? Because remember, this is all about managing your brain waves. If you allow those triggers and reactions to get you up into those high beta ranges, well, then you're not going to heal in those high beta ranges. You'll be looking to fight, flight, or freeze, right? And you'll be pumping out all of those hormones related to stress. How you treat others can be a really good observation that you can make of yourself. Are you treating people the way that you would like to be treated? Emotional addictions. Now, this one is interesting. Thank you to Dr. Joe Dispenza for helping me and Christy become aware of this. So this is what happens, guys. When we're living our lives in high stress, right? Those stress responses of fight, flight, or freeze. When we're in those high emotional states, those high brain waves, the body is releasing chemicals, the chemicals of stress, that cortisone and all of those other stress-related hormones. Well, what happens over time, we become addicted to those chemicals, and that has become our normal way of living. So in other words, when we're living in those high brainwave states of stress, the body, the unconscious mind, becomes addicted to that anger, to that frustration, to that guilt, whatever chemicals are being released into the body. And we think that that is normal because we've been doing it for so long. So what will happen is if you are emotionally addicted to anger, for example, and remember, this is unconscious, this is running in the 95%. So this is a really mind-blowing awareness to get. If you are addicted to the emotion of anger, for example, then you will look, or you will create instances in your life, whether it's, interactions with people or things or places, that will trigger your emotional response called anger. And you'll be doing it unconsciously and you won't even be aware of it. Because just like a drug addict needs his fix, when we become emotionally addicted to anger, for example, we'll be looking for ways to trigger that anger so that we get our fix, right? Now, remember, at this point, guys, it's really about observing and creating that awareness, because you cannot transform until we become aware. If you're feeling feelings of being fulfilled, then that's a good sign that you are aligned with your purpose. Now, if you have feelings of being unfulfilled, even if you have the nice job and the nice family and the big house and the big car, yet you're not feeling fulfilled, that emotional response of not being fulfilled could be a clue that you are not aligned with your higher purpose. Yeah. And you can, what's her name? Esther Hicks. Esther Hicks explains this very, very well, that in very basic terms, if the more joy we have, the more aligned we are with our purpose. The less joy we have, the less aligned we are with our higher purpose. And this beautiful book here is a really also good way to become aware of your programs. Have you got the book there, the blue book? I brought a copy with me here today somewhere called Heal Your Body. This beautiful little book here, guys, called Heal Your Body, written by Louise Hay. According to Louise Hay, illness and disease in our body is created by a repetition of mental thought patterns. So in other words, if we continue to think a certain negative series of thoughts, the repetition of those thoughts will manifest itself in a dis-ease of the energy system in the body. Now, I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to take a look and have a read through it and see if it resonates for you. Now, many, many years ago when I left Australia and I went backpacking around the world, I was in France. I was at some palace just outside of Paris. And my left ankle and shin area had swollen up to double the size. I could barely put on my shoe, and it was red and it was really, really puffy. And I thought, and I hadn't jumped or kicked anything. It seemingly came from nowhere. So I'd found a copy of this book, and what's really cool about this book, with every illness or disease that you might have, you can look it up. It has the list there of all of the illnesses and disease. Then it has the probable thought pattern, right? That repetitive thought again and again and again, the probable thought pattern that created that dis-ease or the illness in your body. Then she wraps it up with a positive affirmation, something that you can repeat to yourself to change that thought pattern, thereby bringing back health and vitality and balance to your energy system. So as I was in this palace in Paris with my swollen ankle, and it's like that my shin area, the shin is like the bone down near your foot down there. And I looked up the word shin, and here's what it says. Here is the probable thought pattern that created this swollen shin area. Breaking down ideals. Shins represent the standards of life. Now, I can tell you where my head was at that moment in time. I was thinking to get a job working in a hostel somewhere in Europe. And that was my thought pattern at the time. And I thought I wanted to work in a hostel. Well, according to this, I was setting my standards too low. So as I sat on the grass in this palace in Paris, I repeated the positive affirmation, which is, I live up to my highest standards with love and with joy. So for 15 minutes, I was in a very relaxed state. I'd calmed my brain waves down, and I simply repeated that positive affirmation again and again and again. 15 minutes later, the swelling on my ankle was totally gone. And 3 months later, I was in beautiful Koh Samui in Thailand, working in a 4-star boutique resort. So as I lifted my standards mentally, now I didn't know that that's where I was going to end up, but by repeating that affirmation, the planets aligned, the serendipity, the coincidences happen to lead me to a higher standard or a higher ideal of myself. So this is a really good way to help you become aware. How have I used this with people and myself and clients? Is you look at any pre-existing medical conditions, you check out the meaning or the definition in here, and then you practice the affirmations. So that can be a really powerful way to begin your healing process. And this other book here, Medical Medium, Christy and I just started to listen to this as an audio book on the drive down here to Hua Hin. Wow. I can only say wow. We haven't finished it yet, so I can't comment yet, only that wow. So here are some other top tips for observing and becoming aware. So in neuroscience, we have a process called metacognition, which is your ability to observe your thoughts. So you're having your thoughts, but guess what? There's like an observer that's observing your thoughts moment to moment. Now, of course, we don't catch them most of the time because 95% of the time they're unconscious and they're repetitive and it's the same. So you want to exercise this muscle of metacognition and really become aware of your thoughts that you're having moment to moment. A good way to become more aware of your behavior is to ask for direct feedback more often. So direct feedback from your partner, from your parents, your children, your co-workers, your boss. As you get that feedback mechanism going, it's creating more awareness about your behavior of which that you might be unconscious or unaware. You want to keep a daily journal. So as you jot down what happens throughout your day, as you read back on that at the end of each week, then you've got like a transcript of those thoughts and emotions and everything that was going on as that detached observer. And with that greater awareness, you can make changes in your life. If you're a presenter like me, you know, once upon a time, I recorded my presentation so I could observe it as a detached observer, and then I was able to improve my presentation. So whether you do a lot of meetings or presentations or whatever, record yourself, and that's a really good way. So what other tips, please? What other tips can you share to better observe your thoughts and programs? Please drop them into the chat box there now. If you can let me know, please, Christy, what's coming through. So yeah, heal your body. As I mentioned, this is a really good way to observe your thought patterns from the past. Yeah, see yourself as a mirror image, right? But yeah, simply being observant is being more aware. And one of the best things you can do for yourself is identify your emotional addictions and then begin to release those. And this is so transformative. Why? Because most of us are totally unconscious and unaware that we are addicted to some of these limiting emotions, such as guilt, such as anger, frustration, etc., etc., etc. Reflection and insightful. Now, one of the other really good ways, guys, to become aware of your programs is through neuro-linguistic programming. It's a program that we run up here in Bangkok about 3 times per year. And we do have our next NLP training coming up in July. So certainly everyone in Thailand, you'll be able to come. The hotels are opening up again now. We have permission from the government to run trainings. If you're in Malaysia or Singapore, not sure yet whether you can join, but certainly if you're in Thailand, wherever you are in Thailand, you're welcome to come up and learn these tools of NLP. It's a 4-in-1 certification. It's internationally approved, and you're going to learn how to reprogram the subconscious mind. Super, super powerful. Now, so we have de-stressed and we've begun to observe our thought patterns and our programs. Now it's time to create. Now it's time to move forward. Because think about it this way. If your computer had a virus, and we know when a computer has a virus, it runs more slowly, right? Well, guess what? These programs, these limiting beliefs and these programs that hold us back, It makes us run more slowly. Now, with your computer, if it has a virus, you are not going to do the software upgrade. Why? Because if you try and upgrade the system, it's probably going to crash. So you first need to, reformat or run the antivirus to clear out all of those old programs. And only then, with that greater awareness, after you've done the observing and the de-stressing, now you're ready to upgrade your human operating system. You're ready to take it to the next level. If we don't go through the D and the O first, the de-stress and observe, it's like putting your foot on the accelerator and the brake pedal at the same time. And of course, that's going to create even greater internal stresses. So let's take a look at the 4-step process on creation. How can you do that? So firstly, you want to be able to set your clear intentions and a compelling future, right? So what do I mean by that? Just like your GPS coordinates, and we covered this in detail about 3 webinars ago, if you don't set your GPS coordinates correctly, then you're going to end up somewhere else. And it's the same in your life. You must be able to set clear intention and a compelling future. Compelling means when you think about it, you get motivated and you get inspired and you think, yes, I want to achieve that, right? So the way to do that is to set smart goals. And you can set yourself smart goals in all of the different areas of your life: relationships, business, finances, and so on. Step number 2 for creation is I want you to feel the feelings, feel the emotions as if you have already achieved those goals. And how do we do that? You do that by seeing and hearing and feeling and smelling and tasting those goals that you set in step 1. Step 2 is to engage your emotions, right? So you want to visualize, right? And you can visualize with a vision board. You can do it with an active imagination. You can do it by talking about it with your partners or your friends. The more you talk about it, the more you have a clear picture and more you can feel those feelings, then that's going to motivate you to take more action, which is step number 3. Take daily actions. Even if it's a tiny little action, as you're taking action, you are creating your new future. As you make those decisions and take those actions, you're adjusting the path to get to where you want to go. And then finally is you want to use those meditative states. You want to get your brain waves into that theta and alpha state. And let me tell you why. When your brain is in those relaxed states, it's a doorway to your subconscious mind, that 95%. So as you get into those relaxed states, as you open those doors, and as you're focusing on your goal, that intention, and as you're focusing on that feeling, you're planting a seed directly into your subconscious mind. So what happens then, that 95% of your brain power is now pulling you towards the achievement of that goal, right? Remember, if you're in those high levels of stress, that's not the time to create. So it's going to be really difficult for you to create something new when you're in survival mode, right? So as you're able to control those brain waves and create that time for meditation or self-reflection or visualization, you're downloading those goals and those visions and those feelings into your subconscious mind. So even as you sleep, you're beginning to think of ways to achieve that goal. And finally, there are some top tips for being able to create your future. So remove or reformat those programs and beliefs that do not serve you or that are holding you back, right? As you're observing what they are, you need to remove them because it'll be like moving forward with your foot on the brake. Get into those calm, relaxed states, alpha and theta, more often. Remember, the more often you're in those states, it means the less often you're in stress, and stress is survival, right? We can't create when we're looking for the danger of the saber-toothed tiger. What else, guys? Please write down what else you think are some other ways to create your future. Put those in the chat box now, please. Create those SMART goals, and you can look at a couple of videos from a couple of weeks ago on how to correctly structure a SMART goal. Write those SMART goals for each area of your life. You might come up with 8 different areas of your life. Go ahead and write 1 or 2 SMART goals for each area. That is then a compelling future that will motivate you to create what you want to create. Visualization or mental rehearsal, right? So world-class athletes are known before a race, and they don't do it once, they do it many times. They do it during training, they do it at the back of the stadium, they do it before the race. They are doing a mental rehearsal. They are imagining themselves running across the finish line in first place, or they imagine standing on the podium receiving the gold medal. So as you continue to visualize and mentally rehearse, when you're in those calm meditative states, you're downloading that future into your subconscious mind. Find a role model, right? So whatever it is you do want to create, chances are there's one person or many people that have achieved those same goals. So find someone who has already achieved the goal that you want to achieve. Talk to them and find out their recipe for success. What was it that they did that helped you to achieve that next level of success? When you do that, you will save a lot of time and a lot of energy, and you'll create your vision more quickly. So what else? Any other ideas there, please, guys, on how to create your future? Yeah, things a bit ethical. Yep, mentor, find a mentor. Yeah, remove all the negativity, guys. Remember, we can't create in stress. So that's why we went DOC. There's a kind of a bit of an order here that we need to follow. A good diet and good exercise is pretty obvious, I know, and we need to maintain that if you're wanting to create your future sooner rather than later. Unlearn and relearn. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, guided meditation, right? So one of the reasons why Christy and I love guided meditation is through the meditation with the beautiful music and everything, that slows the brain waves down to that theta and alpha state. Then with the guided meditation, it's giving us instructions on how to rewire ourselves with a new positive, empowering program. And some of our favorite guided meditations at the moment are by Dr. Joe Dispenza, right? It's just the best of the best. And so as you're in those meditative states, then we're kind of planting seeds to create that compelling future. It's an active meditation, right? So in that sense, for us personally, it's so profound. So I can really recommend that. And then walk the talk, exactly. Now, another really good way to create your future is by either receiving coaching from a professional coach or to become a professional coach. Because guess what? As you begin to learn the tools of coaching, you can coach yourself to create that new future, but you can also coach people that you care about, whether that's your family or your teams or paying clients. As you are able to coach others, guess what? You're also coaching yourself. So every time you help someone else in their life, you're helping yourself grow to the next level. And that's what our ICF coaching program is all about, which is happening on number 16 to 19 in Bangkok. And we're doing this course fully online. It's approved by the ICF. As for the online course, there'll be about 20 hours of pre-study, and then you join the course live virtually from wherever you are in the world on number 18 and number 19 of July. So if you're in Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, Dubai, or wherever you're calling in from today, keep your eyes open for an email, which will give you the details on this online international coaching certification. Now, for those of you who don't have all of that time, we also have another online webinar specifically for your company, which is coaching conversations for busy executives. So executives out there, they don't have a lot of time to come to a 2-day online or 4-day program. So we've created 3 2-hour online webinars where the executives learn definitions and uses of coaching conversations within the leadership matrix, simple and powerful questions and positive thinking to empower teams, and advanced coaching conversations to flip any problems to solutions. So this 3-webinar series is specifically created for your organization, addressing challenges and giving executives tools to effectively coach in the moment in those coaching conversations. And they're just some of the clients that have come to our NLP programs, our ICF program, and our executive coaching programs. Remember, check those links for our 60-second leadership, where we'll be sharing lots of tips and tricks. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll quickly everyone. Thank you all, guys. Thank you very much for joining us today. I can't believe how quick 1 hour goes these days. Recording up to YouTube. So thank you all very much. And see you again soon. Stay safe, stay awesome, and see you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke.